Okay, so this is the game you played for black, and it was Slav Defense here. If knight f3, then you capture on c4. This is the main line. e3. Yeah, e3 is not a good move. Then b5. The main line here is a4. How would you play after a4?
Um. Uh. No, bishop f5 probably.
Bishop f5, yeah. You can't save the pawn on c4, but you can develop your pieces. Like e6, knight d7, bishop e7 or bishop b4, then castle. Okay,
Mm.
good. But in the game it was e3, and you're absolutely right to protect this pawn with b5 move. a4, b4, right. Uh, if knight a2, how would you play then?
B3. I think B3 is.
No, b3
No, it
doesn't
doesn't.
make sense because the pawn on c4 is a weakness, and after he takes this pawn, then b3 will be lost.
Mm. Queen A5.
Queen a5. No, queen a5, bishop c4. You're not threatening to play b3 because after that, um, the knight goes back to c3, and the pawn on b3 becomes a weakness.
Mm. Oh. I guess. Can you just like play E6?
e6, yeah, that makes. If I'm not mistaken, f5 is the main move here. So you protect the
Mm.
pawn, and after bishop takes, you can just trade the bishops. And the main problem for white is how to develop this knight on a2, because it looks difficult. He has to spend so many tempers like bishop d2, knight c1, then knight d3, or even knight b3. So at least three
Mm.
tempers. So if knight a2 in this position, just play a5. But it was knight b1
Okay.
played. However, you can still play a5. But the main move here is bishop a6. So you're gonna try to save the pawn. What if knight d2? How would you react on it?
Um. C3.
Yeah, c3 exactly. Because if he takes on a6 first, then you have an intermediate check and you win a piece. So, for example, he captures, then he plays knight b3, and you can take on f1, and he loses the right to castle.
Mm-hmm.
So bishop a6, queen c2, that's the main move. b3, yeah, b3, queen goes back to d1, e6, knight e5, and c5. So you lose the pawn on c4, but you increase the pressure on d4.
Okay.
However, you played bishop b7. It's not a critical mistake, but that's not the best option, of course. Bishop c4, e6, castle, bishop e7, right, queen b3, bishop a6. Okay, I understand the idea, but you played with the bishop. Um, I mean, once again, but
Yeah,
usually
it's like.
first we develop our pieces. So I think that castling was the best option. You could also play a6, or another option was to play knight d7, then castle and c5.
Hmm.
I don't think that queen b3 is a good move, actually. It has nothing to do here except attacking the pawn on b4, which is already protected by the bishop. If, for example, he starts with like castle, bishop d2, we can play a5, then knight d7 and c5.
Okay.
The idea to trade bishops is generally good, but you'd better play bishop a6 in one move, not by spending two tempers.
Okay.
Oh, and
Yeah, I
how
blundered
to
a
deal?
pawn, I think.
Huh?
I think I blundered a pawn in this scenario.
Why do you think? You can just capture here and then play a5. What? So that's not a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
If knight e5, then for example, even queen d5, queen d5. So the pawn is protected, and if he captures, then you just take with the c pawn. And I think this position is slightly better for you because this bishop is better than this one. Of course,
Yeah.
you have to develop your pieces.
I end up winning over a bishop from him, which and then I'm gonna be in the lead.
Mm. But the question is, what if e4 in this position? How would you play then?
Um, Probably bishop takes on c4.
Bishop takes on c4. Another option was to play. Okay, what is the idea?
Well, if he captures with his queen, then I guess he can play like knight to b6.
Yeah, knight b6, then a5 probably. Another option was to play knight b6 immediately. Because you attack the bishop, he has to take, and after knight takes on a6, the b4 pawn is protected. But at the same time, you help him to centralize his pawns. So maybe capturing was better. And
Probably
a5. But anyway, so the pawns are in the center. Maybe in this position he is slightly better. However, he still needs to improve the position of his knight on b1. Okay, he didn't play e4, he played rook e1. Castle. Oh, and
yeah, I blundered the pawn.
Yeah, but that's okay. Actually, you didn't. You didn't blunder the pawn. Because in this position, you can win a piece.
Oh, queen b6.
Exactly. So this is the topic we just passed. So queen b6, you create a pin. He can't move with his bishop because then he loses the queen. And at the same time, there is no way to protect the bishop on b4. You will capture it with the queen, for example. So that's quite bad that you missed such an option. Because it's just just one move. Queen b4. Okay, so you're down a pawn. Is it a good idea to trade pieces?
No, it's not.
Yeah, so if not queen b4, then how to play?
Probably bishop c4 or
bishop c4. Actually, as for me, I would play rook a to b8.
Oh yeah.
And then knight b4 to get to d3 square. However, maybe that's not a mistake. Queen c2. Why this rook? Why not the a rook?
I was scared that he would somehow come up with a way to capture the a7 pawn in the future. Actually,
but how?
even though
The a file is blocked by the a4 pawn.
Actually, yeah, I
No,
don't know.
so yeah, you'd better play with this rook, and so this you need the f rook on c8 because of some chances to apply this tactical strike. So you have to
Mm.
capture then queen c6, and he's better. Maybe before you play rook a to b8, you should play rook f to c8,
Mm.
or even queen d6, or queen b6, and then knight b4.
Mm. Okay.
So in this position, I think knight d5 makes sense. Okay, b1. Oh, now it doesn't make sense because you capture with the queen.
Yeah, I think he blundered.
Yeah,
Or
he
he was
did.
expecting me to capture with my pawn.
Mm. Maybe in this position he noticed that instead of rook b1 he could play knight takes on d5, but then um, he didn't pay much attention for this move, queen a5, and didn't notice that you can take the knight with the queen and at the same time protect your knight on c6.
Yeah, probably.
Rook e to d1. So now you have an extra piece and absolutely winning position. A piece for 2 pawns.
Mm.
So you're gonna trade.
Yeah. I tried my best to trade, but he wouldn't budge. He kept trying to escape to different places.
hmm Maybe you'd better play rook c2 to attack here and here, and then knight d3.
Mm.
Uh, Another option for you was to play bishop e2, and
Yeah, that's what I was thinking just now.
after rook d2, because you see he can't play rook e1 or rook c1 because of knight d3 fork. So rook
Mhm.
d2, you can capture on f3, and if queen takes, then you trade the queens, and if pawn takes, then he ruins his pawn structure.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. So why not trade? I think it may.
Um, I thought it was a very big risk because maybe he has a lot of pieces close to my king. So I
Mm-hmm.
was thinking that in the future he would uh somehow come up with a way to checkmate me.
Okay, so maybe you'd better just keep the rook on the c file. So just queen b6.
Mm.
However, queen is yeah, queen e7 and queen b7.
Mm.
Okay, so rook d8, queen c5. What if he takes here?
um, I would probably take his rook with my knight.
There is a better move.
Oh, queen e1.
No, a
Oh.
better one. There is a checkmate in two.
Queen e1 doesn't work? Oh, queen e2.
F2.
F2, I meant to say.
Yeah, and then checkmate in one move. Okay, so he took, queen takes.
Yeah, I think I blundered accidentally somehow.
Yeah, you blundered the bishop. So you'd better capture on a7. And then, I think it's still a winning position for you. You can play bishop c4 and bishop d5 and try to checkmate on g2 or h1.
Mm.
However, in this position, maybe you can force a draw by taking the rook on a1. So you trade the queen for 2 rooks. And then, for example, you can go back, or you can play this rook to a8. Looks like a draw.
Mm. Yeah, probably. I had to play these last moves very fast, because I think I had 10 seconds left.
Maybe, but if I'm not mistaken, there is a perpetual check. Queen b1, king g2, queen e4. If f3, then queen to c2. If king goes to h3, then queen f5. And now he can't play g4 because you capture on f3. King h4 I think is a mistake, because then h6 and g5 then. Or you can just simply capture here and you equalize the material, but you are better positionally because of the king's position. So queen, instead of queen c1, queen b1 was better.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, so you had a lack of time, so that's why you blundered this
Yeah,
plan.
I had very little time.
Okay, however, you should definitely win this game. You were much better, and you had an extra piece after knight d5 here. Knight. Oh wait a second, not here. Yeah, here, queen d5. So your task was to trade pieces, of course, but you didn't. You didn't do this. Okay, so another game, and now you're white. 2 knights defense.
Yeah, this game.
Yeah, that's the main line. Queen d5, that's not a good move. I would play knight c3 first, and then capture on f6. But if you capture on f6 immediately, it means that you destroy his pawn structure.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do.
However, how to play against rook g8 in this position?
I think f3. F3 is okay.
f3, but generally I don't like this move. However, it's... No, okay, f3. Bishop h3. So
queen e2.
if queen e2, then rook g2.
Rook f2 probably.
If rook f2, then bishop c5.
Yeah.
So you should play... I don't know. Looks like you lose the exchange.
Yeah.
So that's why instead of taking, knight b to c3 was better than queen goes to e6, for example. And then you capture, and if queen takes, that's okay. You just you can move another knight to e4, or you can move a bishop to e4. That's much better, because then d3, and you open this bishop, and you open pawn up.
Okay.
So he didn't play rook g8, but he could. Queen f3 makes sense. As for this move, I'm not sure. I would play maybe bishop here, then d3 and bishop e3.
Mm. Okay.
But looks like he blundered it or sacrificed.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how she could blunder that.
Then knight b5. Yeah, and in this position you have an extra exchange and two extra pawns.
Mhm.
Instead of this move, he takes on b5. He could just simply castle, for example. Would you capture then?
Um, well, I think capturing, if I capture, I still win a pawn.
Yeah, maybe it makes sense. However, generally I don't like this trade because you activate his knight from the edge of the board. But but the bishop is hanging, so you can go back on d3, but so that's not a good move. However, maybe this move was better. Just bishop d3, then queen a4, threatening to give a checkmate.
Oh.
Okay, but if you capture, then queen takes. I think you are still better. Rook c8, queen goes back,
Yeah, his
f5.
king's position is
Yeah,
ruined.
he made a mistake by castling the king. He'd better no, he'd better play rook g8 when he had a moment.
Hmm.
Okay, so this is how you want this position. Um, okay, what I want you to remember from this game is that queen standing on d5 attacks on g2, and it's not a good idea to open the g file for him.
Mm.
So just play knight c3 and then capture and so. Oh yeah, to trade pieces is a good idea when g2 is not hanging.
Okay.